It was just an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when the boy found the wallet. He was walking home from school, his backpack slung over one shoulder, kicking pebbles along the cracked sidewalk. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the quiet neighborhood. He wasn't paying much attention to his surroundings, just another day in his small, struggling world. But then, something caught his eye. There, lying half-hidden under a bush near the park entrance, was a sleek black leather wallet. He stopped, hesitated for a moment, and then bent down to pick it up. It felt heavy in his hands, and when he opened it, his breath caught in his throat. Stacks of crisp bills, credit cards, and a driver's license stared back at him. His heart raced as he quickly counted the cash, over $500. For a boy whose family could barely afford groceries, it felt like a fortune. His mind began to race. He thought about his mother, working double shifts at the diner, coming home exhausted every night. He thought about the electricity bill they couldn't pay last month and the empty fridge that seemed to mock him every morning. This money could change everything. He could give it to his mom, and maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't have to work so hard. But then, another thought crept in. His mother's voice echoed in his head, "No matter how hard things get, we always do the right thing. That's who we are." He clenched his jaw, torn between desperation and duty. He looked around, half hoping someone would appear and claim the wallet, but the street was empty. Finally, with a deep breath, he made his decision. He pulled out the driver's license and studied it. The name on the card was unfamiliar, but the address wasn't far, a wealthy part of town he'd never been to. He didn't know who this person was, but he knew what he had to do. The boy shoved the wallet into his backpack and started walking, his heart pounding with every step. He didn't know it yet, but this simple act of honesty was about to change his life in ways he could never have imagined. The boy's walk home was usually a quiet one, but today, his mind was anything but still. The weight of the wallet in his backpack felt like it was pressing against his shoulders, a constant reminder of the choice he had made. He kept replaying the moment he found it, the flash of hope when he saw the money, the guilt that followed, and the resolve that finally settled in his chest. His family's struggles were no secret. They lived in a small, run-down apartment on the edge of town. The walls were thin, and the heat barely worked in the winter. His mother worked tirelessly, juggling 2 jobs, just to keep food on the table. His father had left years ago, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and a void the boy had learned to live with. When he got home, the apartment was empty, as usual. His mother wouldn't be back until late, and his younger sister was at a friend's house. He dropped his backpack on the floor and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wallet. He opened it again, his fingers trembling as he touched the crisp bills. Part of him still wanted to keep the money. He imagined handing it to his mother, seeing the relief in her eyes, and maybe even hearing her laugh for the first time in months. But deep down, he knew he couldn't do it. His mother had always taught him to be honest, even when it hurt. "We may not have much," she would say, "but we have our integrity. That's something no one can take away from us." The boy sighed and pulled out the driver's license again. The address was in a part of town he'd only seen in passing, a neighborhood of big houses, manicured lawns, and shiny cars. He didn't know how he'd get there, but he knew he had to try. The next morning, he woke up early and told his mother he had a school project to work on before class. She kissed his forehead and handed him a granola bar for breakfast, her eyes tired but kind. He felt a pang of guilt for lying, but pushed it aside. This was for her, he told himself. The journey to the wealthy neighborhood was longer than he expected. He had to take 2 buses and walk several blocks, but finally, he found the address on the license. The house was enormous, with tall columns and a sprawling garden. The boy hesitated at the gate, suddenly feeling out of place. He rang the doorbell, his heart pounding in his chest. A moment later, the door opened, and a man in a suit appeared. He looked surprised to see a young boy standing there. "Can I help you?" the man asked, his tone polite but curious. The boy held out the wallet, his voice shaky but determined. I found this. I think it belongs to someone who lives here. The man's eyes widened as he took the wallet. He opened it, glanced inside, and then looked back at the boy with a mix of surprise and admiration. Wait here, he said. I'll be right back. The boy stood on the doorstep, his hands shoved into his pockets, wondering what would happen next. He had no idea that this simple act of returning a wallet was about to set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. The boy waited nervously on the doorstep, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. The grandeur of the house made him feel small, and he couldn't help but wonder who lived here. A moment later, the man in the suit returned, but this time, he wasn't alone. A tall, well-dressed man with graying hair and a kind smile stepped forward. He held the wallet in his hand and looked at the boy with an expression of genuine gratitude. You found this? He asked, his voice warm and steady. The boy nodded, his throat suddenly dry. Yes, sir. I found it near the park yesterday. I thought you might want it back. The man's smile widened, and he extended his hand. Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me. My name is Robert, by the way. The boy shook his hand, feeling a little more at ease. I'm just glad I could return it. Robert studied him for a moment, his eyes thoughtful. You walked all the way here to give this back? The boy nodded again. Yes, sir. I didn't want to keep it. It didn't feel right. Robert's expression softened, and he gestured toward the door. Why don't you come in for a moment? I'd like to talk to you. The boy hesitated, glancing back at the street. He wasn't used to being invited into places like this, but something about Robert's demeanor put him at ease. He stepped inside, his eyes widening as he took in the luxurious surroundings. The house was even more impressive on the inside, with high ceilings, elegant furniture, and artwork that looked like it belonged in a museum. Robert led him to a cozy sitting room and offered him a seat. Can I get you something to drink? Water? Juice? The boy shook his head. No, thank you. I'm fine. Robert sat across from him, still holding the wallet. You know, most people wouldn't have done what you did. That money could have made a big difference in your life, couldn't it? The boy looked down at his hands, unsure how much to say. Yeah, it could have. But my mom always says we should do the right thing, even when it's hard. Robert nodded, his eyes filled with admiration. Your mom sounds like a wise woman. Tell me, what's your name? The boy hesitated for a moment before answering. It's Alex. Well, Alex, I want you to know how much I appreciate what you've done. This wallet has more than just money in it, it has important documents, family photos, and memories. You've saved me a lot of trouble. Alex felt a small surge of pride but quickly pushed it aside. I just did what I thought was right. Robert leaned forward, his expression serious now. Alex, I'd like to reward you for your honesty. How about I give you the cash that was in the wallet? Consider it a token of my gratitude. Alex's heart skipped a beat. $500 was more money than he'd ever held in his life. But then he thought about his mother's words and shook his head. No, thank you. I didn't return it for a reward. I just wanted to do the right thing. Robert looked stunned, as if he hadn't expected that answer. He studied Alex for a long moment, then smiled softly. You're an extraordinary young man, Alex. Not many people your age would have the courage to do what you did, and then refuse a reward on top of it. Alex shrugged, feeling a little embarrassed. I just did what anyone should do. Robert chuckled. If only that were true. Tell me, Alex, what do you want to be when you grow up? The question caught Alex off guard. He'd never really thought about it much. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe a teacher or something. I just want to help people, I guess. Robert's eyes sparkled with interest. That's a noble goal. You know, Alex, I think you and I are going to have a lot to talk about. But for now, let me at least give you a ride back to school. I don't want you to be late. Alex glanced at the clock on the wall and realized he was running out of time. Okay, he said, standing up. Thank you. As they walked to the car, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen. He didn't know it yet, but this chance encounter with Robert was just the beginning of a journey that would change his life in ways he could never have imagined. Robert's car was sleek and quiet, gliding smoothly through the streets as they made their way to Alex's school. Alex sat in the passenger seat, feeling a mix of awe and nervousness. He'd never been in a car like this before, and the soft hum of the engine made the ride feel almost surreal. Robert kept the conversation light, asking Alex about school, his favorite subjects, and his hobbies. Alex found himself opening up more than he expected, talking about how he liked math and science, but struggled with English. Robert listened intently, nodding and offering encouragement. When they pulled up to the school, Alex noticed a few kids staring as they got out of the car. He felt a pang of self-consciousness, but tried to ignore it. Robert walked him to the front steps, shaking his hand once more. Thank you again, Alex, Robert said, his voice sincere. You've done something truly remarkable today. I won't forget it. Alex smiled shyly. It was nothing, really. I'm just glad I could help. Robert patted him on the shoulder. Take care of yourself, and don't hesitate to reach out if you ever need anything. Alex nodded, though he couldn't imagine ever asking for anything from someone like Robert. He watched as Robert got back into his car and drove away, then turned and headed into the school building. The day passed like any other, with classes, homework, and the usual chatter of students. But as the final bell rang and Alex was packing up his things, something unexpected happened. He heard the distant wail of sirens, growing louder and louder until they stopped right outside the school. Curious, he peeked out the classroom window and saw 2 police cars pulling into the parking lot. His stomach dropped. What was going on? Rumors spread like wildfire through the hallways. Some kids said there had been a break-in, others thought it was a drug bust. Alex's heart raced as he made his way to the front office, where a crowd of students had gathered. The principal, a stern but kind woman, stepped out of her office and called his name. Alex, could you come in here, please? His palms were sweaty as he walked into the office, his mind racing with possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Was this about the wallet? But when he stepped inside, he was surprised to see Robert sitting there, along with 2 police officers. The principal gestured for him to sit down, her expression unreadable. Alex, she began, Mr. Roberts here has something he'd like to discuss with you. Robert leaned forward, his eyes kind but serious. Alex, I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to come here and personally thank you again for what you did. I also wanted to make sure you're recognized for your honesty. Alex blinked, confused. Recognized? What do you mean? Robert smiled. I've arranged for a small ceremony tomorrow morning. The local news will be here, and I'd like to present you with an award for your integrity. It's not every day we see such selflessness, especially from someone so young. Alex's heart skipped a beat. The news? An award? This was more than he'd ever imagined. But before he could respond, one of the police officers spoke up. We're also here to ensure everything is handled properly, the officer said. Mr. Roberts wanted to make sure you're safe and that your actions are celebrated in the right way. Alex felt a mix of emotions, pride, nervousness, and a little bit of fear. He'd never been in the spotlight before, and the thought of being on the news was both exciting and terrifying. The principal placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. This is a big moment, Alex. You've done something truly special, and we're all very proud of you. As Alex left the office, his mind was spinning. He couldn't believe how much his life had changed in just a few hours. But as he walked home that afternoon, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The next morning, Alex woke up earlier than usual. His mind was still racing from the events of the previous day. He couldn't believe that today, he would be recognized in front of the whole school, and possibly even on the news. His mother had been stunned when he told her about it the night before. She'd hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes, and told him how proud she was. When he arrived at school, the atmosphere was buzzing with excitement. Students whispered and pointed as he walked down the hallway, and a few even congratulated him. Alex tried to stay calm, but his heart was pounding. The ceremony was held in the school auditorium. The principal stood on stage, along with Robert and the 2 police officers from the day before. A small crowd had gathered, including students, teachers, and even a few reporters with cameras. The principal began by addressing the audience. Today, we're here to celebrate an extraordinary act of honesty and integrity. One of our students, Alex, found a lost wallet and went out of his way to return it to its rightful owner. His actions remind us all of the importance of doing the right thing, even when it's not easy. The audience erupted into applause, and Alex felt his cheeks flush. He was called to the stage, where Robert shook his hand and presented him with a plaque. The cameras flashed, and for a moment, Alex felt like he was in a dream. But then, Robert did something unexpected. He stepped up to the microphone and began to speak. Alex's actions have touched me deeply, Robert said, his voice steady and heartfelt. But what many of you don't know is that his story resonates with me on a personal level. You see, I wasn't always successful. I grew up in a neighborhood much like Alex's, where money was tight and opportunities were few. The room fell silent as everyone listened intently. Alex's eyes widened. He had no idea Robert had come from a similar background. Robert continued, when I was a young man, I was faced with a similar choice. I found a wallet, just like Alex did, and I returned it to its owner. That simple act of honesty changed my life. The person I returned it to was a businessman who saw something in me, a spark of potential. He offered me a job, and that job opened doors I never thought possible. Alex felt a lump form in his throat. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Robert turned to him, his eyes filled with emotion. Alex, you remind me so much of myself at your age. You have a strength of character that's rare, and I believe you have the potential to achieve great things. That's why I want to offer you the same opportunity that was given to me. The audience gasped, and Alex's heart skipped a beat. What was Robert saying? I'd like to provide you with a scholarship for your education, Robert explained. And I'd like to offer your mother a job at one of my companies. I know how hard she works, and I want to make sure she has the support she needs to provide for your family. Tears welled up in Alex's eyes. He looked out at the audience, where his mother was sitting. She was crying too, her hands clasped over her mouth in disbelief. The principal stepped forward, her voice filled with pride. This is a moment we'll never forget. Alex, your honesty has not only changed your life, but has inspired all of us to be better. As the ceremony ended, Alex was surrounded by well-wishers. But all he could think about was Robert's story. He realized that this wasn't just about a wallet or a reward, it was about the power of doing the right thing, even when it's hard. After the ceremony, Alex and his mother were invited to meet with Robert in the principal's office. The room felt smaller than usual, filled with a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Robert sat across from them, his expression warm but serious. Alex, Robert began, I meant every word I said up there. You've shown a level of integrity that's rare, and I want to help you and your family in any way I can. Alex's mother, still wiping tears from her eyes, spoke up. Mr. Roberts, this is so generous of you. We don't know how to thank you. Robert smiled. Please, call me Robert. And there's no need to thank me. I've been where you are, and I know how hard it can be. I just want to give you the same chance someone once gave me. He leaned forward, his tone gentle but firm. Here's what I'm proposing. First, I'd like to set up a scholarship fund for Alex. It will cover his education, from high school through college, including books, supplies, and any other expenses. Second, I'd like to offer you a position at one of my companies. It's an administrative role with flexible hours, so you can still be there for your kids. The pay is competitive, and there's room for growth if you're interested. Alex's mother looked stunned. I don't know what to say. This is more than we ever dreamed of. Robert nodded. I understand it's a lot to take in. But I want you to know this isn't charity. It's an investment. Alex has shown he has the character to succeed, and I believe in him. And you, as his mother, have clearly done an incredible job raising him. This is just a way to make sure you both have the resources you need to thrive. Alex sat quietly, trying to process everything. He felt a mix of emotions, gratitude, disbelief, and a little bit of fear. What if he couldn't live up to Robert's expectations? What if this was all too good to be true? As if reading his mind, Robert turned to him. Alex, I know this is a lot to take in. And I want you to know there's no pressure. This is your life, and you get to decide how to move forward. But I believe in you, and I want to help you reach your full potential. Alex looked at his mother, who gave him a reassuring nod. Then he turned back to Robert. Thank you, he said, his voice steady. I don't know what to say, but thank you. I won't let you down. Robert smiled. I know you won't. And remember, this isn't just about money or opportunities. It's about building a life you can be proud of. You've already taken the first step by doing the right thing. Now, let's see where that can take you. Over the next few days, the details of Robert's offer were finalized. Alex's mother started her new job, and Alex began to think about his future in a way he never had before. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of hope, a belief that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. But not everyone was happy about the turn of events. As word spread through the community, some people began to whisper. They questioned Robert's motives and doubted Alex's story. The whispers started slowly, like a faint breeze that no one paid much attention to at first. But soon, they grew into something louder, more insistent. Some people in the community couldn't believe that a boy like Alex, quiet, unassuming, and from a struggling family, could have done something so extraordinary. At school, a few kids began to tease him. Hey, Alex, did you really find that wallet, or did you make the whole thing up? One boy sneered in the hallway. Another chimed in, yeah, what did you do, bribe the millionaire or something? Alex tried to ignore them, but the comments stung. He'd always been the kind of kid who kept to himself, and the sudden attention, both positive and negative, was overwhelming. The rumors didn't stop at school. Around the neighborhood, people began to talk. Some said Robert must have ulterior motives. Why else would a wealthy businessman take such an interest in a boy from a poor family? Others speculated that Alex had somehow manipulated the situation to his advantage. One evening, as Alex and his mother sat down for dinner, she brought up the topic. Alex, have you heard what people are saying? She asked gently. He nodded, pushing his food around his plate. Yeah. They think I lied or something. His mother sighed. People can be jealous, sweetheart. They see something good happening to someone else, and they don't know how to handle it. But you and I know the truth. That's what matters. Alex looked up at her. But what if they don't stop? What if they keep saying stuff like that? His mother reached across the table and took his hand. Then we'll handle it together. You've done nothing wrong, Alex. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. The next day at school, things got worse. A group of older students cornered Alex in the cafeteria, their voices loud and mocking. Hey, Alex, how much did you get paid to return that wallet? One of them jeered. Yeah, did you split the cash with your mom? Another added, laughing. Alex felt his face grow hot, but before he could respond, a teacher intervened, scattering the group with a sharp warning. That afternoon, Robert called. He'd heard about the rumors and wanted to check in. Alex, I know this isn't easy, he said over the phone. But sometimes, when you do something good, people will try to tear you down. It's not about you, it's about them. Don't let their negativity distract you from what's important. Alex took a deep breath. I'm trying not to, but it's hard. I know, Robert said. but remember, you've already proven what kind of person you are. Keep your head up, and don't let anyone make you doubt yourself. Despite Robert's encouragement, the rumors continued to spread. One day, a local newspaper even published an article questioning the authenticity of Alex's story. The headline read, "Too good to be true?" Local boy's act of honesty raises eyebrows. Alex felt like the world was closing in on him. He started to wonder if he'd made a mistake by returning the wallet. Maybe life would have been easier if he'd just kept the money and stayed invisible. But then, something unexpected happened. The backlash from the community and the media was hard to ignore, but Alex tried to focus on the positive changes in his life. His mother's new job had already made a difference at home. For the first time in years, they didn't have to worry about whether they could pay the bills or put food on the table. Alex's younger sister even got a new pair of shoes for school, something she'd been needing for months. Still, the rumors and criticism weighed heavily on Alex. He felt like he was constantly under a microscope, with everyone waiting for him to make a mistake. But then, something happened that shifted the narrative in a way no one could have predicted. One afternoon, Robert invited Alex and his mother to his office. When they arrived, they were greeted by a small group of people, journalists, community leaders, and even a few of Alex's teachers. Robert stood at the front of the room, a confident smile on his face. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I know there's been a lot of speculation about Alex's story, and I want to set the record straight." He turned to Alex, gesturing for him to join him at the front. Alex hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward, his heart pounding. Robert placed a hand on his shoulder. This young man did something extraordinary. He found a wallet filled with cash and returned it, not because he wanted recognition or reward, but because it was the right thing to do. I've seen firsthand the kind of character he has, and I believe he deserves our support, not our skepticism. The room was silent as Robert continued. To those who doubt his story, I invite you to look at the facts. The wallet was returned with everything intact, cash, cards, and personal items. There's no evidence of wrongdoing, only an act of honesty that should be celebrated. One of the journalists raised a hand. "Mr. Roberts, why are you going to such lengths to defend Alex? What's your interest in all of this?" Robert smiled. "Because I see myself in him. I was once a young man who faced similar challenges, and someone believed in me when no one else did. I'm simply paying it forward. Alex has the potential to do great things, and I want to make sure he has the opportunity to succeed." The room erupted into applause, and Alex felt a surge of relief. For the first time in weeks, he felt like people were starting to see him for who he really was, not just a boy from a poor family, but someone with integrity and potential. Over the next few months, things began to change. The negative rumors faded, replaced by stories of Alex's kindness and determination. He became a role model in his community, inspiring others to do the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. At school, the teasing stopped, and Alex found himself surrounded by friends who admired his courage. He threw himself into his studies, determined to make the most of the scholarship Robert had provided. But the biggest change was within Alex himself. He no longer felt like the world was against him. Instead, he felt empowered, knowing that his actions had made a difference, not just for himself, but for his family and his community. Months turned into years, and Alex's life continued to transform in ways he could never have imagined. With Robert's support, he excelled in school, earning top grades and becoming a leader among his peers. His mother thrived in her new job, and for the first time, their family felt stable and secure. But the most important change wasn't in their circumstances, it was in Alex's outlook on life. He had learned that doing the right thing, even when it was hard, could lead to unexpected opportunities. He had also learned that success wasn't just about money or fame, it was about the choices you made and the impact you had on others. One sunny afternoon, Alex stood on the stage at his high school graduation, delivering the valedictorian speech. He looked out at the crowd, his heart swelling with gratitude. His mother was there, beaming with pride, and Robert sat beside her, a quiet but steady presence. When I was younger, Alex began, I thought success was something you could measure by the size of your house, the car you drove, or the money in your bank account. But over the past few years, I've learned that real success is about something much deeper. It's about the choices we make, the values we hold, and the way we treat others. He paused, his voice steady but filled with emotion. I've been lucky to have people in my life who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. They taught me that no matter how hard things get, there's always a way forward, if you're willing to do the right thing. The audience erupted into applause, and Alex felt a lump form in his throat. He looked at his mother, who was wiping away tears, and at Robert, who gave him a proud nod. After the ceremony, Robert pulled him aside. Alex, I couldn't be prouder of the young man you've become. You've faced challenges with grace and integrity, and I have no doubt you'll continue to do great things. Alex smiled. Thank you, Robert. None of this would have been possible without your help. You've changed my life. Robert shook his head. No, Alex. You changed your life. I just gave you a little push. Remember, the world rewards those who do good, even when no one is watching. As Alex walked away, he thought about those words. He realized that his journey wasn't just about returning a wallet or receiving a scholarship. It was about the power of honesty, the importance of kindness, and the belief that one small act could change everything. Years later, as a successful businessman and philanthropist, Alex often told his story to inspire others. He never forgot the lessons he had learned or the people who had helped him along the way. And whenever he faced a difficult decision, he remembered Robert's words, the world rewards those who do good, even when no one is watching. It was a lesson he carried with him for the rest of his life, a reminder that true success wasn't about what you had, but who you were.